welcome to Impossible Live. Welcome back if you're joining us again. And if you are joining us again, or you're joining us for the first time, you are so in for a treat because mm, I am really enjoying our magical guest, so much so that the two of us were kind of laughing behind the scenes, and technology is kind of refreshing and playing good jokes. But we're here. We're here. We are here. I am really enjoying. We are here to so much so. We are here to play full out, and I'm laughing because my phone was on full out mute, and it decided to unmute each other. So as I'm saying, play.
Apparently, we've got a powerful message coming through today.
It is. We're talking about charging our batteries, and it's a really good reminder because I think the best way to start is to let Heather start. So we're going to let Heather introduce herself, and then we're going to tell you a little bit about what we were laughing about. So we hope either if you have a chance, pick up a pen, pick up a glass, a healthy beverage, relax a little bit, get ready to toast to life, and enjoy wonderful, beautiful Heather. And Heather, welcome back. And I'm so grateful to Karen Curry Parker and her wonderful community for having kind of connected us. And thank you for bringing your magic in today. So welcome back, Heather.
Thank you for having me back. It is always such a true pleasure to talk to you and to just see where the conversation goes. I think we're uh, never disappointed and always pleasantly surprised. And I think one other invitation that I like to anybody that is catching this either live or on the replay is, as you hear whatever comes through for us to share today, do so with an open heart, because like if it is that words of wisdom that you need to write down, you can always come back to it. But allowing your heart and your soul to just receive the message first, um, just hits on a little different level. But I am Heather Travis. I am a spiritual advisor, and whatever else I decide I want to call myself today. I'm a manifesting generator, so that kind of ebbs and flows a little bit. Um, but ultimately, I am here as a catalyst for change, to show people what is possible in life and to help us correct the patterns. And I think that charging our batteries is something that is a really hard lesson for us to learn, because we have been conditioned and patterned to go, go, go. Whether you are a mom, whether you are a college student, like there's throughout the course of our lives, there are different ways with which we are really just conditioned to continue putting one step in front of the other and not honoring the times with which we really need to take just a step back to rest and restore, so that we can be grounded in our body and be fully present and to this full experience of life.
So well said. And for those of you who have not had the pleasure of meeting Heather before, when Heather mentions being a manifesting generator, with full transparency, Mel is a manifester. And Heather, I think, Heather, help us translate that for those who haven't had an opportunity yet to explore human design or tap into the deconditioning. And hey, Emma, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
So I think very broad strokes. A manifesting generator is somebody that is here first and foremost to do, and we are here to eliminate steps so that we can do things as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible. Does not mean that we always get it right on the first time. We sometimes do have to backtrack, but that's ultimately what we are as individuals are here to do. Manifestors are the inspiration of the world, which I think is why this is such a great platform for Mel, is to use their voice, or whatever way their truth wants to come out, to spark the generators of the manifesting generators of the world to take action. And each and every person, individual soul is here to help move the humans along as in our evolutionary process. There is not one that is better than the other. We just kind of fit into the puzzle pieces a little differently.
And I absolutely love that. You're reminding me of an amazing conversation with another wonderful collaborator who is just starting to explore her human design. And I really appreciate her because she mentioned it. We're always mentioning it in the lives. And for those of you who've joined before and you're like, Mel's getting a little bit more concerned about energy, concerns about the woohoo. Oh, Marie VB, my sister from another mother, is here. We are so glad you joined today, too. And I'd have to say the one thing that I really learned about exploring and starting to explore human design a little bit was that underneath this, there's some sort of energy answer for me. And
Well, and I'm gonna pause, interrupt it right there too, because like I think that so many different tools and modalities, such as human design, other types of energy healing and somatic work that we have labeled as woo woo, really and can be explained away in the evolution that has been science. And so I think it's really, um, and we're in that time where, some people still see these things as woo woo. But if you take a pause for a minute, there are very rational, practical, and logical explanations to pretty much anything that is out there. You just have to give yourself the chance to, again, be open to seeing it and to just look below the surface a little bit.
I love when you're saying that. And I think the woo, I'm starting to really lean into it because a client would say, we loved supporting years ago bike rides where uh, Get Your Guts in Gear was an organization where people were raising funds for ulcerative colitis, for Crohn's disease, for irritable bowel disease. And we loved cheering them on. And we'd watch these amazing communities and families working together, riding in the beginning 210 miles over 3 days. And without realizing it, I started hanging out and volunteering a lot with this wonderful woman named Val. And our thing was woohoo. Val and I became the woohoo girls in my gray escape as we were driving around. So I think as you're saying, and I love it when Heather's saying it, because when I say woohoo, it may mean a multitude of things. But to me, it's like you said, it really is about the energy. Welcome, Karan. Thank you so much for popping in and for joining us today. What Heather
But
really start? Yep, go right ahead.
and just one last thing with that is like I also think it's really important for people to remember, like, there it everything at the end of the day is energy. We can put all of these different labels on it. We can find different avenues with which we come and look at something to put words to it, but everything is energy.
That is so true. And welcome, Eugene. Thank you for joining us. Hey, we've got the right energy in the house, and we have Heather here. And I think one of the things as we were starting to talk about it, and Heather and I were cracking up behind the scenes was our topic. And as Heather was saying, I was looking what you were writing and sharing on social media about our topic. Hey, Cheryl, welcome. Thanks for popping in. Definitely right, magical, wonderful energy in the house. I've got good goosebumps. Heather looked and thought of a song, and Eugene saying energy is everything. And I think sometimes we start thinking about the different things it means. Hey Jen, thanks for popping in. And Jen's got something else to pop in about what Heather said. I love that.
Well, and I think I just listen, I can see what Jen popped in there too. And I think that is been one of my fascinating parts of this journey too, when we get into energy, is to watch the the light bulbs for people as science catches up, and the and to me, I think there is such a beautiful like witnessing of faith for those people that have, that ancestral experience with some of these various modalities that have been tried and true. Um, and that they've just stayed and honored that through time. So I think that is such a beautiful awareness too of like it's always been there in various forms. It's just how we synthesize things to and explain and balance everything in the now.
And for our listeners who are unable to see Jen's comment, Jen's sharing science is just now starting to be able to prove the validity of energy work. Took science a long time to catch up with what healers have known for eons. I think also welcome, Lisa. Thank you so much. We've got an amazing full house with some really really cool energy here, and thank you all for popping in. What I thought of, and I really appreciate Heather for holding space, and that's really how I met her. Karen Curry Parker held space for us both in a wonderful, high energy community, shall I say? Uh, and Heather and I, Karen selected us both for something Karen Curry Parker calls love seats. And I will never, ever again call a hot seat anything but a love seat because I fell in love with Heather. You know, I think sometimes too we show up and we're not really sure of we have a question. We're looking for help. We're looking for resources or ideas. A collaborator I was having a conversation with on Friday, who I adore, and I'm shouting you out again, Emma. I've been talking about you all weekend. Is that in our conversations, what sticks with us? I think from a perspective of curiosity is sometimes what our soul needs, what we need personally, what people we adore need, or somebody's about to ask us about it in a short period of time. And we're in a really complex world. And I will thank
Yeah, and
Heather
I
for
as
helping
you
navigate
said,
that.
like we show up with a question, right? And the universe provides a response or an answer to that. And it's very often not in the form or fashion with which we anticipate it. Um, so I think that like that was just us coming together and how we've continued to evolve, having conversations and stuff like that is I think a beautiful testament to that.
In that process, I have to really thank you because you're helping me take some really big leaps with some work really started doing with Cheryl a couple of years ago. And Cheryl, thank you again for always holding space for the spiritual, for the intuitive, for the energy, as well as that, heavy duty business development stuff that we're working on. But I think, like you say, Heather, we show up with a question, and sometimes the questions really can lead us towards burnout or towards really sapping our energy. I think that's one of the things that I love about as I'm exploring human design. I now have a better understanding of some of the questions that I ask. And as my family members, we've been having, I was with my manifesting generator power team this weekend, my love and my brother. And I crack up because the two of them, it's like they've got a secret hidden language that I don't always speak. I can't always get it out that quickly. And I would laugh because some people would say, "You're really articulate." I'm like, oh no. The two of them, in a lovely way, are kind of my whirling dervish, and I just watch them and really just enjoy the magic. But I think watching their energy or their speed with which you're able to process whether it's a request from others, a way to help others, kind of refill our energy wells, or just remember to kind of take a break. It's we don't always have a pause button, shall I say? Um, and a client's like, "Oh, you're always optimistic. You're always on." We're not always on. We're not always optimistic. And part of today's title came from a conversation I had with my mom about burnout. So, talking with mom about burnout, mom at 85, what do you mean burnout? There's a job to do. You show up, you do it. When you need more help, you get more help. You keep showing up until the job is done. You just keep going. I remember after a family reunion watching mom dancing at 2 o'clock in the morning to reggae, taking tablecloths off of a table.
And that right there is going to be the difference between a generator and their energy to do something and see it through to completion and other types of energetics, right? And I think that's having that, giving yourself the awareness and permission to not have to do everything the way everybody else does, right, is a really key thing. And to give yourself, if you are somebody that is super passionate, to let yourself stay in the flow, right? Because sometimes the burnout can come just as much from the doing too much, and it's usually too much of the wrong thing, or from stopping yourself from doing the things that you are truly passionate about for as long as you feel good doing it.
Wow. Major mic drop words of wisdom. Heather on, oh, tell us more.
Well, and I think too, like the because again, we think about our cycles of energy as days, right? Like because that's what we have been conditioned to think about. And our cycles of energy don't work in that way, right? And it doesn't matter um like who you are, what kind of gender you are, what your design is, right? Like at a basic fundamental level, we have natural cycles of energy that ebb and flow. That's part of just being human. And we have just conditioned ourselves to put those into the constraints and confinements of standard time, whether it's a 40-hour work week, whether it's a day, a week, a month, a year, right? Like we love to put labels and define things to make it easier for us to understand. But in doing so, we box in and limit our capacity, our potential, and our ability to bring in joy for those things that truly matter.
Mm. During an extended season of gratitude, grief, and growth, really inspired to kind of live and dig into the joy part. And it's funny because Karen encouraged this during our love seat, and I didn't get the message at first. It was just before the holidays, and you're showing up. You're trying to show up with the right energies, and with the energies to kind of support others, whether it's family members, traveling, dishes you're cooking, whatever it is, whatever the project is. But I think you're really reminding us is the one thing under there we forget sometimes, those things that really bring us joy. I can say that also because games are something that we absolutely love in our family. Mom and I played canasta for about an hour and a half last night. And the funniest part about it, maybe a little bit longer, maybe almost 2 hours, what we laughed with at the end of the night was after our fifth hand, we decided to pause the game. No one was winning. No one was making major progress. Mom was ahead. I was ahead. We went back and forth, back and forth. And I think the thing that I realized after the couple of hours of playing was just the lightness, the ability to laugh together, the ability to kind of show up with love, lighter, you know, um, and it really did kind of raise both of our energy levels, which I think was one of the fantastic things. And I think we forget that in that pause moment, or I always felt like I was allergic to the word pivot, and I had to realize I have a pause button, and it's not always visible to those who are around me. Um,
It doesn't have to be. I mean, I think that's the thing of, one of those things that has really been resonating with me in the past week and a half with some of the changes in my perspective and how I show up really is continuing to come back to a deeper understanding of when we are doing change, when we, regardless of whether it is taking a pause, whether it is taking a step forward, whether it is anything, right? It's always starts with that internal awareness. And we only have to inform anybody of that when it impacts them, right? When we know that it's going to, like, because of what we have committed to, what we have already spoken to, right? Like the anything that is kind of energetically already out there with that person, or people that come into our sphere, like once we've taken that, like communicating, I see you, I love you right now, I'm in this space. I don't have the capacity for that, right? Like, but just really recognizing that when we hold the energy of whatever it is we need, whether it's rest, whether it's taking action, like there isn't this, um, there isn't the same sort of constant pull on our energy, right? And so, like, it's reminding ourselves to return our focus inward when we are making our decisions. And that's ultimately when those pauses are coming in, is when the pause can be a minute, it can be a day, it can be a week, a year, a month, however long we need to take that time to reflect back inward.
Yeah, that's kind of really what led to my conversation with mom. Mom was away, and I knew she was in the best of hands with her younger sister, my fantastic, energetic auntie. In her early 70s, and they had planned stops they were going. We were there for a family wedding. Um, so a lot of wonderful things. Mom got to see the African American Smithsonian Institution for the first time last
Mm.
Wednesday. And to really, fed her love of knowledge, and retired teacher, the scholar, to really just be able to dive in and experience it. And for the first time with one of her younger sisters, who, and the two of them hadn't been to, like the libraries together in a while. So really cool chance to celebrate the legacy and maybe some of the things from the family reunions that they hadn't necessarily attended together. But I think the real reminder underneath, as part of that legacy work, I was really reminded watching three generations of the family celebrate and boogie together on the dance floor at a wedding, that I really needed to do something for my energy tanks. We'd been on the road for a little bit, and I just needed to take a little break. But one thing I did that mom was not expecting was I didn't pick up the phone for like almost a week. And part of it was, like you said, during the inward drive, I was kind of recovering from the self trust reflection paper that I had written, and some positive intelligence, new um, uh, coursework that we've been experiencing as part of a beta course. But I really realized the batteries were so low, whether it was from the long road trips, from lots of conversations. It just needed some kind of dive into a time. I think you're helping me remember that in the pause, we shouldn't necessarily feel a guilt about that.
Mm.
We're reinforcing some boundaries. Maybe we're discovering some healthy boundaries. Maybe we're, and I loved it as the manifester, kind of sitting in a non idea mode, in a non creation mode on a week when I just happen to be taking a break from going live. So I love it too. Ooh, Emma, lovely mic drop. Emma, of course, has a great question for us. So Emma says recharging is often relegated to fun, joyous, or reflective activities. And a source of energy for Emma can come from listening to insightful, intelligent people share their ideas, sometimes on serious topics. And what are our thoughts?
Yeah. So I'm gonna pop in here and say, like, especially as I was listening to Mel talk, right? Like, for some people, retreating into solitude makes perfect sense, right? It is what they need to disconnect from everything to be in their own energy. But there are just as many people that thrive in those interactions, and sometimes it is sitting down with a good friend over a cup of tea, right? Like it, and And while it isn't the fun, joyous, and I think the way that you're talking about there, but it still is something that lights you up, right? Because like when we think about where our energy comes from energetically in our body, we're talking about our sacral, right? We're talking about the where the life force energy resides. And so when we, especially when you're talking about human design and various other aspects of energy too, but whatever turns that on for you is going to be what recharges your battery. And I think that's another, we joy is something that is great for that, but anything that turns that on for you, right? And I think that that's where you get to, as your own person, really sit in and try the different things until you find something that works, and to honor that different phases of life, different things that we are working through, different types of rest require different things to recharge the battery. And I think that your comment there really just allows people to open up to that it is more than just, right? It is more than just any one thing. It's really whatever works, whatever turns that on for you. Whatever, when you sit in that space, you come out the other side, you feel like you have like a different person almost. Like you feel like you have that fire and that light inside of you and you can take on the world, right? Like so those things that fill that up for you is what's more important than what it is.
Mm, I love that, especially I think too, like Emma's saying, energy can come to her from taking something in. It's, it's an idea maybe, and sometimes on a serious topic, that it doesn't have to necessarily be the fun, the joyous, or the reflective. And like you're saying, we're so different. We have so many different styles. It really truly is a mix. I think the thing too in there is for each of us what we do to help avoid overwhelm, or what we do to avoid burnout. I mean, I think it's funny. It's taken decades, and my mom will say I'm the kid who used to wake her up when I came in from school. I had an hour and a half commute in high school, and I'd find mom zonked out on the couch, not thinking, hey, my brother's, almost 6 years younger. Although I love to call him my younger older brother these days. Um, but I think it's funny because I always used to wake her up. But as Jen would say, sometimes for others, recharging involves rest. And I appreciate it because Jen and I were talking about this from the positive intelligence lens. There's like a beta program that came out, and I found for me, I needed an incredible amount of time to take it in. Um, some would say I can learn things quickly. Others would say I learned during a time when you're really traveling, when you have a lot on, when you really, to really slow down our processing speed. So, as Jen's saying, we need different recharges in different circumstances, on different days, different moments, during different seasons, during different stages of life, different, cycles of business. And I think that's one of the things I'm loving discovering as we're having more conversations about human design.
Well,
And
and I think I want to chime in there really quick too, though, because you were talking about avoiding burnout and avoiding overwhelm, right? And I think we can become into a dangerous territory by avoiding anything, right? And so it's not that we avoid things, because those are it's that we are in a place where we have an awareness to see that we're reaching that point, right? And so the and that we learn and gain the tools to kind of restore, to take what we need, right? Like to take the rest, to do what we need to recharge our batteries. Because sometimes even those things that bring us the most joy, that give us the most satisfaction, might wear us out, right? Because we give everything to it. And, while you don't want to go around doing that to everything, in those times when you are so heart driven, like that's okay too. And I think that's one of the things is when you get into some of these um, duality aspects, or we get into any kind of all or nothing or avoiding anything, we stop allowing ourselves to be fully human. And that means that we're not going to get everything right, that we are going to hit burnout, that we are going to hit overwhelm. And just, what happens as we learn and as we grow into our own spaces is our recovery time changes, because we are more efficient with our tools to recover, to recharge, to be ready for what is next.
You're gonna have fun when we're checking out some of these emojis later on the replay. I think to the avoid part, and I have to remember, I have different frames for the words, like we keep talking about different definitions. So, avoider is one of the saboteurs that positive intelligence likes to talk about. Part of the inner narratives or the things that, as I say now, in my positive intelligence line, so maybe I'll call it the avoider, and in Mel's daily life, I'll mention it as part of my pause button. So, as you would say, giving myself the freedom to look at it, whether I'm looking at it through a trust lens, which is kind of an emotional intelligence lens, or I'm looking at it through a positive intelligence lens, or just a life lens, or like Jen mentioned, circumstances or the energy. Um,
Because
from a perspective,
we are all really the sum of everything that we've learned, right? And we are the sum of both our experiences, in who we are at a genetic level, right? Like we are both environmental and genetic and everything else in between. And so the for me, one of those biggest and truest freedoms to me is not having to, not like, just not being stuck in any particular label or category or anything like that. So I get that I always get um, I can be a little triggered from time to time, but I also always it always gets me thinking when we start trying to put too many different labels on things, and in a sense of, instead of just like this, because even if we intentionally put on one hat, we don't take every other hat off. We're just, as humans, we're not built that way. Once we learn and integrate and that becomes part of who we are, we don't just take it off. I mean, it's in the same context of like, once you become a mom, or once you, become an older sibling, right? Like once you become something or part of a couple, right? Like once you become and you cross over that threshold, you don't go back to the other side. You don't go back with the same perspective. You don't go back, right? In that sense. And so the it being okay that I'm just looking at this through the lens of me.
and Sean saying yes, we have to be careful with labels. What I appreciate also, I'm reminded of a conversation with amazing Michelle, who's part of Michelle Thompson is part of the positive intelligence community, but also part of Angie Alexander's Sage Leadership community on Clubhouse on Thursdays. Um, and Angie's the one who kind of introduced me to positive intelligence. So I always give her thanks, and I'm really learning, like we're saying, about the pause or the avoiding button. I'm learning things that, and I heard myself say it before, things that pop up in November, I don't necessarily have the bandwidth for. It takes me a little longer to process it. It's not necessarily the right season for it. So I appreciate the part about being careful with labels, but Michelle had a conversation with us that labels for some, and she's in healthcare, and
Mhm.
she helps people, with like with workplace and psychological safety, is is mentioning how sometimes people are using them as a way to of like social categorization. And you're right, we look at this from so many different angles, from so many different viewpoints, that I think that's the reminder. We don't know when someone we're having a conversation with is low on energy.
Mhm. Mhm.
They may appear to be charged up. They may be on stage. They may appear to be the extrovert. When they step off, their introvert batteries kick in, or or somebody asks them a question, and there is some sort of pause. But I think I love what you're saying, because underneath all this, whether you're watching it live or on a replay, is that somewhere in here giving ourselves the permission to be, as Heather's saying, no matter what the role, whether the role is temporary, whether you're filling in, whether it's learned, whether it's a role you're sharing, whether it's a role that you're exploring, it's just to keep the curiosity there. Because I love what Emma said before. It may have to do also with the insights that we're sharing to help, and ideas to help us open up new conversations. And I want to thank you, because I'll remember through the lens of positive intelligence, one word means something. Through the lens of emotional intelligence, it means another. Through a lens of lived experience, or other things. But Emma's dropping off some more mic drops here for us. Lack of alignment with your values often leads you to burnout. Wow, Emma.
Mhm.
Whew, Emma, I've been in a quantum human design challenge, which is how I kind of met Heather during that community. And I have to catch up on Friday,
Yeah.
Saturday, and today's replays. But you really reminds me of something in the training. Our values part are kind of the glue. I think, though, Emma, we're not sure sometimes what path we're on. And this is something I learned from the wisdom of working with beautiful Cheryl. We don't know about the steps we're taking, or that we're at a turn or an intersection. Uh, and we sometimes don't know where we are in the path. That burning the
Yeah.
candle, though. Mm.
Well, and I think too, like I think when we put on, because you brought up, like, there's two things that come to mind for me when we were talking, especially about human design, right? Of like the burning the candle at both ends works for some people, right? But it's how long are you staying in that space, right? Because I think the if that is part of how you are designed to work, right? Because sometimes you need to have both things going at the same time for you to integrate and move forward properly. And so and I think that ties in really well to, like, you don't know where you're going, because if you don't have both of those things happening, or both sides of that going on, you're not going to reach the destination the same way. Um, but it's just that having the awareness within yourself to know when you are reaching the edge of your energy, right? Because I think that's what it is like learning to get in touch with where your battery is in your body, because we're talking about charging your
Mm.
batteries. And so if you know where your battery is in your body, and that you can stay aware of that as you are moving through things, then you're going to know when you reach the end of your battery and I need to step back, and or I need to do whatever I need to do to recharge it, right? And so, like, there's that one piece of it. And the second thing is in both my sun and my Mercury on and my personality, so my conscious side is that 18. And in Karen's quantum human design verbiage or language, it is realignment. And so, like, anytime we get into talking about alignment, that is something that just really lights me up. And I think the more that we can also begin to be in tune with when we are out of alignment, or and why are we are out of alignment, because it's not always just a simple matter of I have to realign to where I was, I have to realign to my values. Sometimes when we get shaken up that way, because you have to reevaluate what your values are. Because I think sometimes burnout comes too when we are trying to stay so true to the values that we had and not recognizing the values that we're moving into. And so that just that that really resonated for me.
Wow. Ah, that's
I'm sorry, I can talk. I
no,
don't
no,
mean
no,
to
no,
keep
no,
going
no.
here.
You keep
I got an active
you are
share.
welcome to talk. I'm telling you, you have to see the emojis. I love it too because we can only see them on Facebook. You know, we can only see them on Facebook, and Sean Michael is reminding us. You know, sometimes we can see them on multiple platforms, and you know whether they're on Facebook or they're on LinkedIn, where the emojis are popping up. But I think it's one of the cool things that's funny about the live stream is we can't necessarily always see them. So we want to thank you for all the hearts, the insights, the love, the mic drops. And I just really want to encourage you. This amazing woman, Heather, is absolutely brilliant. Follow her on a bunch of different platforms. Heather, where do you like hanging out with to spend most of your time online?
I think I kind of split my time now between like Instagram and Threads most of the time. I
It's really okay. Heather's got an amazing family that needs her, and
oh, just like they decided just they had to do their thing right at the moment, so if it's a little loud there. But yeah, but I find, because I love, especially when I'm online, of just that kind of fast-paced interaction first and foremost. Um, and I love, just like, I love having anybody wants to talk to me. Like, I love having conversations like this. So please do not hesitate to reach out. And that's in my phase of life where I'm at right now. Like, that's really where I'm at. That's like everything else in life is subject to change, but in this moment, that's where you can find me.
well, we always want to thank you for popping in, and you're welcome to join us anytime. And as Heather would say, we're already talking about our song title. So Heather, definitely, like you did last time, please pick our next
I don't
song.
think you actually shared the song. I think we got so sidetracked with talking.
Yes, you're right. We definitely did get sidetracked. Okay, hang on one second. Heather's amazing song that she shared, and I'm looking for it because the link, of course, is not on LinkedIn because the link Heather shared is on Meta. Um, Heather shared the great song "Born to Be Wild," and
The very
I,
first, lyric. What's the very first lyric?
the very first lyric was "Get your motor running."
So when she started talking about charging your batteries, that was literally the first song that came into mind. And and as we were talking a little bit before we popped on here, what really resonated about that, right, is like when we are in our energy and in our flow, we feel wild and free to just be ourselves, to move through life at our own pace, and um, gives a different depth to our experience as a human in this lifetime.
Mm. And on that mic drop, maybe next time, maybe Heather will pick the song "Born to Be Wild," and we'll check out. And Sean, I'm gonna fix this. Heather's profile is in our event link on LinkedIn, and you can definitely tap in and connect to Heather through our event. But Sean, I'm going to make sure that I connect you with Heather. And if you're on another platform, if you look up at Soul Healing Mission, which is under Heather's
I've at
name,
least got the consistency there.
you can Google Heather, Brilliant Heather, and find her. So Heather will laugh. Mel is not on Threads. Mel
That's
is.
okay. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
Um, I'm kind of good. I'm grateful for a growing and small team. To be in a couple
Hmm.
of places, but I, as you would say, gotta. We gotta, before we head out on that highway. We have to pick which highway we want to check.
Exactly. Exactly.
And make sure we have the batteries charged, especially if we're in an electric car. We've been on the road a lot. And I'm really starting to notice every place you stop, gas stations, hotels, every place to charge your batteries on the road. So today, if nothing else, whether you're joining us live or for a replay, please let us know uh, something maybe that stuck with you. And definitely check out beautiful, amazing Heather before she rejoins us on our next Impossible Live. And one of the things I'd love to
Mm.
invite you to is our last live. I believe is called A Song for You. If you have a chance, check it out and hear more of Heather's amazing gems. But Heather, thank you for saving space in your schedule, in your heart, in your life, in your world for us, for popping in and sharing your gems, for helping us slow down a little bit, breathe, decompress, if not explore deconditioning. And maybe we're encouraging somebody else to check out human design and do something today, do something this week that you love that really helps charge your batteries, and check in on those who you're not sure that their battery tanks are at full capacity too, and help them kind of recharge. But Heather, I can't thank you enough for joining us. And to those of you joining us live or for replays, thank you for popping in, even just for seconds. And we hope you stay safe, stay well, stay inspired, and stay in touch. And please have a magnificent day filled with opportunities and possibilities until we connect again. Take care, beautiful Heather. Thanks. Have a great day, everybody. Take good care.